The Phoenix Suns have just swept the Denver Nuggets in the second round of the 2021 NBA playoffs, which in turn means that the NBA MVP Nikola Jokic just got swept in the second round of the NBA playoffs by the Phoenix Suns. And because of him getting swept in the second round, he will be getting a lot of criticism, no matter how big or small it may be. It's just how the media works, it's how NBA fans work, and really it's just how basketball culture is right now. Whether that's a good or bad thing, that's another story for another time. However, to get back on track, I do want to talk about Nikola Jokic in a positive light because he was really good in the playoffs despite getting swept in the second round. Jokic showed why he deserved to win MVP this year despite what happened in the end, and I really do believe that it wasn't his fault that they went out the way they did, injuries to his teammates or not. But before we get into today's video, I've noticed that about 60.5% of you guys that watch my videos happen to not be subscribed. You happen to fall there at 60.5%, or you just happen to be new and like what you see, feel free to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, be notified whenever I release a video. I make videos that take elements from format series and apply them to basketball. I also make videos covering the NBA draft and high school basketball as well. So if any of those things are of an interest to you, this is the channel for you. Let's try to get 100 likes on this video so YouTube will recommend it to others. But with that being said, let's get right into the video. Let's get this out of the way. Nikola Jokic did go out sad when he got ejected in Game 4. I do believe personally that he should have been assessed a flagrant 1, not a flagrant 2. However, I could see how a ref would view that play as a non-basketball play, and I don't agree with people acting like it was just a common foul or a play on. That's just ridiculous in my opinion. On top of him having frustration foul reputation, it really wasn't helping his case either. I don't think this makes Nikola Jokic a bad guy, as he did apologize to Cameron Payne before he was tossed, and Jokic didn't even seem to fight the ejection, so I do believe he understood what he did was wrong, even if it was out of frustration. However, with that out of the way, let's talk about Nikola Jokic in a positive light. In the playoffs this year, Nikola Jokic averaged 29.8 points per game, 11.6 rebounds per game, and 5 assists per game on a 59.12 shooting percentage. He really only had one bad game in the playoffs this year, which was Game 4 against Portland, where he had just 16 points on a 42.42 shooting percentage. And minus that game, he looked every part of the NBA's most valuable player. And him playing well throughout the playoffs is really why this isn't one of the worst exits from the playoffs for an MVP despite getting swept. Nikola Jokic wasn't like Dirk in 2007 where he lost in the first round to the 8th seed and didn't play well in that series at all. And in fact, in the elimination game he was downright awful. And I think the previous 2 Giannis exits were worse as well, and that's just only naming 2 out of many MVP exits that I think are way worse than what Jokic went through this year. In fact, an MVP hasn't made the finals since 2016 when Steph did it, so I don't think him not making the finals should be used against him because LeBron James and Stephen Curry are the only MVPs over the last 10 years to make it to the finals in the year they won MVP. And those are 2 of the greatest players to ever do it. So again, I just wouldn't use this against Jokic. Also, I do think that the Nuggets missing Jamal Murray for the playoffs was a gigantic loss, as well as other guard depth as well. I'm not saying Jamal Murray would have instantly made them win this series because the Nuggets did get swept in pretty convincing fashion, I would say, and I don't think Jamal Murray is the level of player to swing a series that was as lopsided as this one. However, I do think the Nuggets put up a much better fight and do have a chance to win the series if Jamal Murray's in the lineup. Again, I'm not going to guarantee it because of the way they went out this year, but I do think Jamal Murray would have made somewhat of a difference in that series, and at least would have made it a competitive series, which it just wasn't this year, without him obviously. However, I do think that it is a lot to expect somebody to carry a team like this far into the playoffs, and that's for any superstar. Michael Porter Jr. is awesome, but he was inconsistent at times in the playoffs this year due to him really not knowing what a bad side is, and even when it is a bad side, he doesn't think it is, and that leads to inconsistencies a lot of the time, especially for a player this young. Will Barton missing most of the playoffs wasn't ideal. Jamal Murray being out forced Aaron Gordon into a role you just don't want to see him playing in the postseason when the games actually mean something. Marcus Howard playing rotation minutes in a playoff run really speaks to the lack of guard depth in the team. Monte Morris is a fine player. I definitely think that he could start on a playoff team or at least be a very key rotation player. However, he's just not built to be the third scorer on a playoff team, which was the role he was forced into until Barton came back for those final 3 games of the series. So yeah, it's safe to say that it wasn't the best cast around Jokic. Not because of the talent, because I do think for the most part the puzzle pieces on the team fit very well into the roles that they would ideally play. However, because of the injuries to key players on the team, those players are forced to play a role that they just weren't comfortable playing in the playoffs when the games mean more, and that can be troublesome. Also, I just don't understand, and I really don't know how you look at the guy who averaged 30, 12, and 5 on 51, 38, 84 shooting splits during the playoffs, while only having one bad game during that playoff run in a series that he won, mind you, and think that's his fault that they went out the way they did in the playoffs. Nikola Jokic is a deserving NBA Most Valuable Player. He's the first player in NBA history to average at least 26 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, and 8 assists per game on at least a 62 shooting percentage in a single season. Do you know how many players in NBA history there are? Do you know how many great NBA players in history there are? And he's the only one to accomplish a stat line like this. He helped the Nuggets to a top 3 seed despite Jamal Murray going down with injury, and he played well throughout the playoffs. So this notion that him getting swept in the second round is the reason why he didn't deserve to win MVP is ridiculous. And to be honest, I don't see a lot of people doing it, but I do know people are holding that belief based off the way they talked about him throughout the season. And I do know that there are going to be critics of him losing in the second round the way he did, but at the same time, when you watched him play, you knew that he wasn't the problem. When you look at the stats, you can tell he wasn't the problem. If anything, the problem was they just ran into a better team and they weren't in an ideal situation to handle facing a better team. And to be honest, the Suns were a better team even without the Jamal Murray injuries. If Jamal Murray was healthy, I still probably would have favored the Suns in that series. But at the same time, you know, again, while I do believe that it could have gone either way if Jamal Murray was healthy, you know, things happen and you can't really control those. And if there were things that Jokic could control within that series to maybe win it, yeah, I would probably criticize him. But there weren't. He played well. He did all he could. But it just wasn't his year, and it just wasn't something that was realistic to beat this team given the situation. I understand that slander is going to happen and criticism is going to happen, and people are going to say things about Jokic because he lost in the second round, he got swept in the second round, he got ejected in the final game of his playoff journey this year. You know, those things are not looking good on his resume. However, I personally wouldn't slander him, even if I know that it's going to happen. Because personally, as someone that watched all 10 of those games that he played, minus Game 4 in Portland, he was incredible in the series for the most part, and was the reason the Nuggets even had a chance, and proved to me that he was the MVP. But I also am aware that the NBA has a gigantic fan base full of many people of different cultures and different beliefs. I understand that with a fan base that big, you're just naturally going to have people that are negative, because not everyone is going to be positive about anything. So my advice to people that are Nuggets fans or Jokic fans or people that are just fans that don't like seeing someone getting unjustifiably slandered, I would just ignore it, because personally, I believe that the people that are giving out the slander, they want attention, and you're not helping by giving them the attention that they want. I think people need to understand that people are just going to have different opinions. Not everyone's going to like every player, and it's just the way things are going to be. And I think that once people understand that, it's going to be a lot more fun for you to watch and enjoy basketball. But that is the end of this video. If you've made it to this point, thank you so much. Again, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, do all those things, be a big help to me. Let me know what you guys think about Nikola Jokic, his MVP. Do you deserve it? Does he deserve the slander? Does he deserve praise for taking him as far as he did, given the situation around him? We'd love to hear that stuff in the comment section below. If you have more time, go watch another video. I have over 390 videos on this channel, so I'm more than bet you'll find something else that will interest you if you enjoy basketball. So I would really appreciate if you would go check it out. But with that being said, have a nice day.